Good morning, and thanks for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah, and well, you would have to argue that it's a bit of a weak bias that we're trading with, or a soft bias, or largely a lackluster market, if you will, based on volumes. Let's take stock of the global news flow first. China has blasted the US for military cultural hegemony, in their words, as the ice sour between the two countries. IMF says that sticky core prices may prompt more rate hikes in Asia. Pair of earthquakes measuring 6.4 and 5.8 on the Richter scale struck Turkey's southeastern Hatay province. And the bad news on that front continues, really. Ola plans to build for world's largest electric vehicle hub in India. Uh, 41,000 people have died already in Turkey quakes, and now there is more. Unfortunate as it seems, I hope they get out of it sooner rather than later. Um, I think they've announced rehabilitation programs for 2 lakh homes to be built starting March, but then further quakes have hit yesterday, and just shows how unfortunate that part of the world is as well, on at least on the natural calamities front. Nevertheless, let's move on. Focus on markets. U.S. markets were shut yesterday. No point talking in Qs. Just the SGX Nifty, which shows a very mild start, really is to be focused on. Everything else notwithstanding, you probably have a very flattish kind of a perform start, at least on offing in today's session. So what's the trade setup therefore? I think you've seen most markets trade with a weak buy side of the FOMC minutes on Wednesday. Now, whether it's because in anticipation of the minutes or just in general volumes have gone off the boil is another factor altogether. Nifty's formed a bearish candle continuously now 3 days on a trot. We're trading very close to some key moving averages as well. These are the levels from where we made this attempt to break out. That breakout has come back. Now the question is, will we succumb to some bit of selling in the near term? That remains to be seen. Trading volumes are very thin. Option meat is very low on account of lower VIX. Somebody that I met yesterday was talking about how the same call options which were being sold at an X price are now being sold for nearly 50% of that price, simply because volatility is ebbed completely. That is very low, and therefore obviously it has an impact on option pricing. But the point also being that there is not enough demand out there, both either for traded options or for stocks. So follow-up buying in good news is not quite there, though bad news is getting hammered, and you have to admit that very select stocks really are actually finding favor these days. So therefore, in light of all of this, how should you trade today? Not too many trading options as well. You have to first look at what's working, right? So yesterday, day before, or rather on Thursday, Wednesday, we've been talking about how the pockets to bet on seem to be auto, seem to be IT. Yesterday, we saw cement bounce back, and it was reflected in the way some of the high volume stocks and the derivative sides did as well. So you had 5 or 6 mid-cap IT names doing very well. Persistence, Premier out there, 3% higher. And these are all derivative stocks which traded with very high cash market volumes. So Persistent was up 3.1%. Volumes were nearly twice the weekly average. Or Motherson, Samvardhana, Motherson or Samil, right? It was up about 3% or 2.8%. Volumes are 4.5 times. And of course, it also had the acquisition news which brought about this volume activity there. But just shows auto components being right there in the thick of action. Shree Cements. Yesterday, cement stocks were up and about. Ultratech, Shree, Ambuja was also doing well. A bunch of others were doing well. And Shree Cement in particular up 2.7%. Volumes about 2.4 times the weekly average. Just goes to show on the liquid side, where is it that money is moving? You know that you don't have to fish in the pond of, say, for example, chemicals, because the results are not out there. People are not coming there. There was a conference recently at one of the brokerages. It's not that great in terms of attendance either. So it's just that those pockets are now kind of being ignored. What is maybe long-term money might be coming in and nibbling, but from a short-term trade perspective, the activity is in these select pockets. You got to bear that in mind. News flow backed stocks to be focused in the session today. I want to start off with the disclaimer, of course, that the Adani Group is in the process of acquiring 49% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime, because the first 2 newsmakers are from the Adani Group. Adani Ports has paid SBI Mutual Funds due amount of 1,500 crores yesterday, and they will also pay another 1,000 crores of commercial papers due in March earlier. Now, the company is trying to do this, I reckon, in order to assuage fears around debt repayment capabilities or etc. And frankly, I don't think there are debt repayment issues, but well, the company I think is doing that in order to drive home a statement. Now, does the stock react? I don't quite know. Maybe it does. It already had a bit of a move in trade yesterday, so bear that in mind. But these stocks are facing resistance at higher levels. Sellers are coming in. The mothership, which is Adani End, is correcting, and that is putting pressure on the group at large. So be mindful of long trades out there. The other one is, of course, Adani End and ACC and Ambuja, because Ambuja and ACC and transporters in Himachal Pradesh have reached an amicable solution to the dispute between them over freight rates. The solution clears the way for reopening of cement factories in Darlaghat and Barmana after a period of about 67 days, which is pretty high as well. So that is something to be watched out for. Um, how much of this results, I mean, in the reduction of freight rates? What's the quantum? I think analysts peg about 10-12% there. So maybe, I mean, there is a positivity on freight rates, which are a large portion of cement companies' cost, to the tune of 10-12%, but remains to be seen. I mean, normally they should be met positively. It is a net positive. Let's wait and watch if the stocks react or not. Remember Ambuja too, yesterday, much unlike Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports, Ambuja, Adani Power, etc., were in the green or were trading okay. So bear that in mind. Then BEML is a stock wherein they've signed an MOU with the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation-led special purpose vehicle that has been shortlisted for constructing the first phase of the Bahrain Metro Rail project. BEML obviously will manufacture and supply the metro rolling stock, which is what they usually do. The size of this is not known, but suffice to say this is a positive. Maybe the stock could react. GR Infra Projects, yet another infrastructure company which is bagged orders. The company emerged as a successful bidder for two national highways logistics management projects based in Uttarakhand, cumulatively worth about 3,600 crores. Now, remember, viewers, yesterday too, a bunch of these companies, infrastructure companies, won orders, and most of them duly reacted. I would suspect that the case could well be the same with GR Infra Projects in the session today. Let's wait and watch. Speaking of cement, and I spoke about how Ambuja was marginally in the green, Shree Cement did so well. Ultratech has been doing okay, and MK has come out with a note on the company. It's a trading call. They say the stock may rise about 3 to 5% in the near term. According to them, the stock has witnessed long build up this expiry with price increase of about 10% and OI change of about 8.8%. The stock has witnessed strong rollovers this month, with the roll basis about 66 basis points, and with rising RSI and positive MACD crossover, the technicals also point towards the bullish momentum being in place and likely to continue. So I think that is something that people should be watching out for as well. So maybe, just maybe, there could be some optimism around Ultratech. So if you believe MK alternatives in this case, then Ultratech may have some more upsides to itself. So do watch out for that one. Now, yesterday, one of the stocks which corrected quite a bit was Cipla. Morgan Stanley's come out with a note on Cipla. They say they are overweight with the target price of 1336. They believe the US FDA Form 483 with 8 observations do not include data integrity issues or repeat observations, according to the company. The company plans to respond to US FDA within 15 days with its CAPA plan. The total US exposure is 5 to 6% of overall sales. And Advair is the key NDA file from the site. So generic Advair is at risk. The biggest issue would have been, which was not known yesterday, that are there data integrity issues or any repeat observations, but more importantly, data integrity issues. And according to from the Morgan Stanley note, it's clear that Cipla has said that there are no data integrity issues. You never know. Cipla could actually have a bit of a bounce in the session today. So be mindful of Cipla. And most brokerages have been constructive or largely okay on Samvardhana Motherson. Nomura has a neutral rating, target price of 88. MK is saying it ticks all the right boxes. Morgan Stanley is underweight, of course, on this one, but they say that SaaS makes good margin and could open up more strategic opportunities for Samil. So therefore, that is something to be watched out for as well. So these are a few names that you got to be mindful of. Goldman Sachs has a buy call on ITC, by the way, with the target price of 450. So do watch out for that one as well. Well, some ethanol plants have been given some uh, clearances, and therefore maybe some of the ethanol companies like Braj could be in focus as well. So watch out for that too. Lastly, what's there for me before we wrap up is auto. Now just look at the weight of automobile sector in the domestic mutual funds in the month of January that got released. It's risen to about 49-month highs. Clearly shows what the street and mutual funds are betting on. And like I was talking about Samil or any of the other, auto names, there is a bit of a preference that people seem to have found towards autos. The results have been looking okay as well. The stocks are in continuous news flow and positive news flow at that. Here's a space that you might want to consider betting on from a trading play whenever an opportunity presents itself. So be mindful of autos. Well, interesting conversations today. Aditya Khemka of Incred and one of the best voices on pharmaceuticals, Johnson, at 10 a.m. today to talk about whether pharma can surprise positively. Is this the time to bet incrementally on select names in pharma? I think that's a conversation that we'll have and a slightly longer conversation. So people might want to tune in for that. If you're remotely inclined to bet on the healthcare space, this is a conversation that you don't want to miss. It'll be a detailed one, so be prepared for that. That's the long and short of it. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. Have a profitable day ahead and have a great week ahead.